Did you start it?
I started.
We are live.
I wonder if they could hear that.
I heard it. It sounds like he's drinking something. It's not.
Oh, I am now. Okay. You're listening to The Ascertainers, the number one rated podcast on my blog.
Yeah.
It's not even close. There are four others. I can't name them.
I thought it was in the whole neighborhood.
Well,
I don't know if there's other ones, but really in my mind.
There's a couple really good ones in the neighborhood, but on our block, we're the one. That's the thing. We don't even have did you have a block when you were a kid growing up?
Yes.
We don't got a block here, do we? It's like a subdivision. There's not like squares and rectangles and shit like I grew up.
That's true.
Like when I was unruly as a kid, I would be told to run around the block. And
right.
I believe that the option, if I didn't, was get your ass kicked. So I always ran around the block. That was kind of the cooling off period. And as a result, I was a very mediocre track man in high school. So you must have really got in trouble because you were good at track.
You know what's funny is that parents always threatened, at least mine did, but they never followed through.
Wow.
I always was worried about the repercussions of not doing it.
Yes.
So I always did it. And then...
What was the thing that you knew you were on the edge? I can tell you mine.
I'll get the belt.
Oh, shit. That's very blatant. Mine was, if you got called friend or sport, you were done. You better course correct quickly, or you would get it corrected for you.
But my parents said that maybe 1,000 times.
I'll get the belt?
Yeah, and I've never, ever seen the belt.
I'll show you the belt. Show you the belt right now. If you don't start getting better at podcasting, I will show you the belt.
Oh, my God. I was going to say, like...
Casey Kasem over here.
I was thinking of that Mel Gibson movie, Passion of the Christ. That's how bad I am at
I swear to God, I thought you meant Mel Brooks. No, that's sacrilegious. I saw Passion of the Christ in theaters, and I'm on record, and it was horrible. Like, I was like kind of into everything, I'm a born again Christian, as it were, and so I was like affected by it. But there were some people in there that were really having a hard time watching my Lord and Savior get the crap beat out of him for about an hour straight. But
it was pretty tough to watch.
You saw it? Did you watch it?
I did.
Did you think it was like the feel-good hit of the summer because you don't believe in that? Or
well, when I started laughing.
Yeah, that's not cool. You're like, get him! But sorry, God. Ascertainers, get to know us. I'm Jim, that's Mark. We are a couple of old people from Minnesota who are just doing this on Friday nights for about 2 years straight. We're pretty close to our 2-year anniversary.
You know, it's funny, I told Jim, my partner, that we should just jump into
Podcast partner, Mark. We've talked about this before. We're both married. One of us happily. We'll let you figure out which one. I'm kidding. We're both happily married. Is that it? Hetero?
I'm still going to call you just my partner. I'm not going to say podcast. Why label it? We are partners.
Mark, it's over. It's over. That was a thing. That was a phase, man.
They'll understand.
That was a phase like in college.
But I told them, let's jump right into it because we have a lot of stuff to cover.
We do. And then we fucking did this. This is what you get. We don't learn. We're bad learners. If there were 2 buses, we would get on the one with the fewer seats. Let's just say that.
But hi, we are the Ascertainers, as Jim was talking about. Welcome to our podcast. And we are sponsored by a wonderful restaurant in town, Apple Valley, Minnesota, Newt's, where you can have great burgers, ice cold beer, popcorn, very fun pull tabs. It's fun to pull them and not see the line going across. In our case, but we have a wonderful sponsor and we had a wonderful dinner tonight.
We are powered by Newt's. You were close.
What
We
did I
used to be
say?
sponsored by Newts. Now we're powered by Newts.
I'm sorry.
And you nailed the intro otherwise.
Thank you.
I could take a week off probably, and you'd be totally fine. Just by yourself, it's episode 2 of the night, which means the swear jar is probably in play. Ooh, we got to reload the radio game pot too. I got it. I think I owe it for a few weeks. So no, I got the drawer full.
Oh no, I got to throw it.
Oh, we got a drawer. We'll go Dutch tonight. There we go. I know it's over $80 in the radio game pot. We'll get to that radio game momentarily, but we took a week off last week because I have an annual little ice fishing jaunt I do with some fellas that we've been doing for about 28 years now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's weird how, I think so when I first did it, I guess I had 2 really young kids, and now my youngest this year will turn 30. God willing, the creek don't rise, or he doesn't start playing with fireworks. But yeah, it's a weird. It's kind of like you could do, I don't know, one of those movies where we should have maybe done more documenting of year over year over year. We did talk about next year. We're going. Each guy has to give their top 5 phrases or something that somebody said, because there are lines that get repeated year after year after year. So we have to kind of do it like a Mount Rushmore or a gold, silver, bronze of hilarious lines. And then, that could always be if somebody says something, it could knock one off. But there's some, it's inside baseball. So nobody would think if I said, oh, here's the funniest thing ever, I'd be like, yeah.
I know you don't want to talk for other people, but for you, do you feel like you've changed in that 28 years? Or do you feel like when you're up there, I'm saying too much, that you are the same person you were 28 years ago?
That, my friend, is a very interesting conversation, because I think that we all, it's like when you're you see that you ever see 4 old ladies on a park bench, and then that's how you see them, but how they see them is, sorority sisters or whatever. So I think that when we're there, we all, I don't know, I think we that guy is there, the idiot that you met, 28 years ago or when we started doing it, but you also give allowances for any successes or failures that have taken place since. But at the end of the day, it's just a cool thing. And I don't have a deep stable of friends or anything like that. I have a few different friend groups, and I consider you a great friend. Yeah. I mean, like I said, not many to pick from. You're in there. Hey, you're right up there, Mark. But so the older I get, the more I value those friendships and traditions and kind of shit like that. So, yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. I won at gambling this year, which I never do. So probably 25 years to date. I might have got close to even this weekend. I cleaned up pretty good. But I tried to, fair and square, right?
Yeah, but you don't want to rub it in.
No way.
Because they're gunning for you next
year. No way. Would I ever want to rub it in? I'm going to start naming some names right now in order. No, kidding. And you know what? Tomorrow, this would be whatever. It doesn't matter what day this airs, I know. But tomorrow I'm actually going to a funeral for one of those guys. His mother passed away. And yeah, so we probably see each other twice a year, most of the group twice a year. And then, special occasions are pretty much going to be like big birthdays, maybe a wedding, for sure funerals. So
is this mostly fantasy football also?
Nope, that's a different group. So that's the other kind of group.
Oh, so you have a wide range.
Well, I got my hometown Rochester guys, which is the fantasy football guys, and then I've got these are all guys I used to work with. So it was like it was a lot of our first sales jobs, and that's where we were working when the idea was hatched. No, I'm still good. This one's thawed out, so the mountains are still very blue. We live in Minnesota, and it's very cold. It's winter, and I had some beers in the garage, and one of them was when they get totally frozen, they kind of blow the top of the can gets disfigured and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, weird. Only one of them is like this. So I take a couple down to the basement, and I open the one, and it's instantly turns into slush, so you can't really drink slush. I mean, it wasn't like a slushy beer is next to heaven, I'm guessing, but a clogged up slushy beer is probably like hell.
It's funny for people in the South, I put mine in a cooler in my garage to keep them from
freezing?
Which is funny to someone in the
so
South.
You use the cooler as an insulator versus a cooler. Technically, that's what a cooler is an insulator. Did you ever think about that, Mr. Science?
If you put something hot or cold in there, how does it know?
It efforts to keep it the same temperature.
It's a joke.
That's not funny. I tried cooking a chicken in a cooler once. It didn't work so good or well.
We took a week off.
Yes.
I had some things that happened. I have a bad back, and I'm going through physical therapy. And I have some young guys that are massaging me. No, they're doing an excellent job.
It's gonna cost you a handful.
David and Lucas, I told them I was going to mention them on the podcast, but we got to talking about music. And these guys are a younger generation, like our kids' age. And I said, what kind of music do you listen to? David said, I'm kind of getting into the Deep Purple scene right now.
The same Deep Purple that we listen to? Or is there
exactly,
okay.
Yeah. And I said, oh, that's awesome. Have you heard of Lazy? He said, no, I haven't heard that one. Have you heard of Burn?
Well, Burn's the name of an album. I didn't know it was a song, though.
It's a song also. Okay. I could see why they like Burn because it's more of a... It's very ahead of its time.
Is it like a long, drawn-out piece? Or
yes. If you listen to parts, you're thinking, oh, is that a new band or is that 70s band?
Really? Well, yeah. Let's listen to that after we get done.
I'm sorry. Lucas was the one listening to Deep Purple. Sorry, Lucas. And David, he goes, I've been listening to a little Black Sabbath.
Come on. Are they just messing with you? Do you think they're...
No.
Do you think, while you're laying there full of oil, naked, that they've got your phone and they're just like, oh, yeah, we also like the Grateful Dead. Is it the Grateful Deed? Ah, it's dead.
Well, I brought up the Grateful Dead. I said, I'm a Grateful Dead fan. You're going to laugh. And he goes, no, this is Lucas. He goes, have you listened to The Dead and Company with John Mayer? Because John Mayer was touring with Dead and Company.
Okay. I, honest to God, can't figure out if I should love or hate John Mayer.
Exactly.
Somewhere and that's in the middle. I think I love him. I
said I hated John Mayer, but then he played with the Dead and Company. He was fantastic. I love him now. And
I'm talking as a human. I mean, you cannot deny his
well, I brought that up.
Virtuosity in the guitar. But
yes,
when I said I can't tell if he's trying to be funny or if he's just a dick. And I admire it. That's kind of how I live my life.
That came up in the conversation. I said, the women he's dated, he's a dick because he's hated by every woman he's gone out with.
They don't give him a good Yelp review.
But like your son, when we were talking about Black Sabbath, I said,
like my son,
are you Ozzy or Richie fan? He goes, Ozzy for
Richie,
sure.
You mean Dio?
Dio, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Richie would be Deep Purple. But
you're right.
It's okay.
Thank you.
You're learning.
That's one.
You're learning.
But it was funny that your son said the same thing. Why did Black Sabbath have to do that?
Oh, I think Al was, his contention may have been, don't call yourself Black Sabbath. Like rename, like.
That's exactly what this guy was getting at.
And I think Sabbath had one other singer on top of it. Like, was Gary Sharon or was that Van Halen?
That was Van Halen. And then we brought up AC/DC. And I said, well, who's your favorite singer with AC/DC? He said, well, Brian Johnson. And I said, well, you probably haven't heard much of.
I'd be surprised if they would have said Bon Scott. But it's such a wild perspective. Like how, like if you got introduced to AC/DC with like Back in Black.
Right.
You'd be, this is the best band ever. And if you got introduced to any of the Bon Scott stuff and you heard Back in Black, you'd go, this is the best band ever. They are such a study. I mean, there's probably colleges that have classes in AC/DC theory.
Wow.
Think about it.
Probably right about that.
I don't think there's ever been a band, well, I'm sorry. There's been a whole shitload of bands, but I think they're the top of the heap of change singers, stay, stay on top.
But it was fun to talk to the younger generation about music.
I'm very, impressed. I'm a little surprised that do you think they were that's what they're kind of paid to?
They initiated all the stuff.
Really? See, my kids, I think I tried to force feed them classic rock. I think Al, my musician kid, appreciates all music, but and actually he kind of does listen to some he's a vinyl guy and he's got a pretty nice little setup, but he listens to, I don't think my little whatever music view is so narrow compared to my kids. Like my oldest kid listens to some heavy duty shit. He listens to the Armed. If you want to hear some pretty out there music, the Armed. I'll put a thing on I've showed you the guy with a big backpack, a big speaker backpack, and he walks around and just,
I don't think I have seen
messes
that.
up shit. It's interesting. He likes a lot of the more of the aggressive, heavy, like some might call screamo-ish. I just never quite got it, but I respect it. He also turned me on to Protest the Hero, though, which both of our kids have a Chance is a big
correct
Protest the Hero guy, as am I. So anyway, what are we talking about?
Talking about those guys, I have to send them a link to this.
If they listen to the podcast, it'll be right at the end of the show notes.
But the other day, a friend of mine from years ago, he was kind of my musical influence growing up, Eric.
Do I know him? No.
No, he's from high school.
That's Steve, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric is from that era, and he turned me on to Tommy Bolin, the Kinks live album. But anyways, he called me and said, I got this ticket to this bass player tonight. Can you make it?
This is this week?
Last week. And I really wanted to go, but my back was acting up, and I thought, I really can't do it. Donnie Bennett.
Not familiar.
And I said, I have no idea who that is.
Is he like at a jazz club or a rock club or what?
He goes, think of a cross between Conway Twitty and Ron Jeremy.
Ron Jeremy? I've never heard him sing. I've heard him make some people sing.
No, but he looks like Ron Jeremy.
Ew.
But it's very 80s music. If you think of Miami Vice, that type of... We'll put a link in the episode.
I'm dying to hear it myself.
And when I heard it, it was actually very good.
Also,
but it was,
what's your friend's name?
Eric.
Is Eric local?
Close. He's north of Minneapolis.
Yeah, but I mean, if he invited you to a show, invite him to my basement. Let's get him on. Let's talk some music with Eric.
He's worried if he's going to be killed.
Hey, get in the line. You think I turned my back on Mark in the basement? No, that's the key.
No, I'd love to have him on.
Retain eye contact and walk fast backwards. You might want to practice walking fast backwards. And then come on over. Does he golf?
Oh, he's a very good golfer.
Well, we don't golf. Mark's back still hurts, so...
No, he's an excellent golfer.
It's kind of like, why don't you eat before you show up? So maybe you just play your own golf before you... Get a little drive-through 9-hole in or something. Something you can eat in the car.
We'll do a par 3.
Oh, I dominated those.
Also, this week, I learned all 24 forms of Tai Chi, Yang style. There's 5 prominent Tai Chi.
Okay, so you have a
styles.
qualifier. Can I make an observation that might hurt your back even more than Tai Chi hurts your back? Ever since you started doing Tai Chi, your back hurts.
That started probably a week before Tai Chi, maybe 2.
Well before a week. Okay, let me take another shot at this. Tell me how Tai Chi has helped you.
Actually, I feel a lot better after doing Tai Chi.
That doesn't say much for how you started. So, okay. To me, I want to fight you, but you use Tai Chi. I think I'd kick your ass. I think otherwise, if you fought like a regular guy, like if you used like any of the other styles, like the monkey. Oh, by the way, that's going to be in the show notes. It's from Wayne's World 2 when he goes, I know all the classic styles. The chimp, the monkey, the spider.
That's very good.
The beat. All right,
Don't they do like a voiceover too?
Yes.
Also?
Yeah. And he speaks in like Mandarin, except when he gets to the father-in-law's name, Jeff. I'm such a simpleton. I love it. So,
But if we do fight, you have to fight in slow motion.
it would be my first fight ever. I've never been in a fight. Can you believe that? The way I talk, I run my mouth. I got punched once, but that wasn't really a fight, and I didn't see it coming.
Oh, I count those.
And it was my buddy's fault. You count those? I'm 0-1. I didn't like them.
I'm 0-7.
I was sitting in the car, and the guy came up, and my window was down. He just punched me in the side of the head. Like, hey. And that was it. And he went away. He probably saw how.
Did you know him?
No. My buddy was smart enough to another car. It was like a 1982 or 81 road rage incident in Rochester, Minnesota at a stoplight. But the guy must have thought I was saying what my buddy was saying, because he kind of made some reference to that. Then he kind of cocked me, and I'm like, that didn't feel great.
Were you giving the head nod like you agree? I agree.
No, I was probably doing the head nod because you're listening to Journey on a tape player of some sort. Anyway, we're really getting far away from your guys. Dave and Lucas. David Lucas, thanks for taking care of my guy, Mark. Maybe you guys want to come on. If you fix his back, you can come on the podcast. If he beats me at golf, I'd like you to come to my basement and you'll never leave. Sorry. No, wow. That sounded really accurate. So, but fix Mark's back, because I'm tired of hearing him. It's just hard to watch, honestly, when he's walking around.
Yeah.
And didn't I tell you, don't run, because this will happen.
It's winter in Minnesota. I haven't been running.
Yeah, but when spring hits, are you going to try to run again?
Dave and Lucas said they'll get me back to running.
Dave and Lucas are lying to you. Do you think it's like when somebody's really sick and they're like, yeah, or like in the battlefield when some guy's guts are hanging out of him and they're like, yeah, we're going to go back to that pancake place. We're going to get those big blueberry pancakes you like.
Oh, you'll be okay. You'll be okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you'll run again. And they're like, they can't look at each other even. By the way, I stole that thing from Patton Oswalt I'll put it in the show notes, but that was theft. That was totally stolen. Most of the random crap that I say that if somebody needs to be credited, I really try to credit it if I'm on purpose doing it. But most of the stuff that comes out of my yap is just because I got dropped as a child or something.
Did we do the radio game?
No.
Oh, let's do that.
You turn on the jukebox. The radio game is an Ascertainers original, and it has to do with a radio station in Minnesota called KQRS, KQ 92.5 on your FM dial. And Mark and I grew up listening to this stuff, and it's basically a classic rock station. So what we thought we would do is that we would every episode of The Ascertainers, we would list off 4 bands, 2 very common bands that everybody's heard of, and 2, maybe you don't think of that often, but you probably know them. And then we will, after our picks are in, we'll turn on KQ, throw a little earbud in so we don't get sued. And if somebody picked that band that is playing, then they have a shot at the pot, which is up to over $80 now. But that's kind of guest money. We both feel that. So if I win tonight, I'll probably take $1 just to rub it in Mark's face.
You're not going to win.
I feel it. So I'm going to go first. Since you went first last time, my mainstream bands are the Cars and the Police, going real mainstream tonight.
I'll go with the Allman Brothers, and I've been listening to a lot of Deep Purple, so I'm going to go with that.
Oh, man, that would be awesome if you won with Deep Purple. I'm going to go with, these are borderline mainstream, but it's the second episode. I'm going to go with April Wine and Triumph. It's not very far of a reach, is it?
I'm going to go with Lou Reed and Joe Satriani.
Oh, my God. You don't want to win. That's cool. It's a song. It is Kansas, Carry On the Wayward Son. No winner. The pot remains the same. I love how Mark never verifies that that's who it is. I could totally, it could have been Smoke on the Water.
You would never do that. I know you.
You know what?
Well.
I wouldn't. I honestly, I shouldn't say honestly and then say how honest I am, but I mean, there's certain things I might not be honest on, but when it comes to like music, I could never lie about music.
No, I know you. You would never lie.
Like when I said you were one of my best friends.
Well, I knew that was a lie.
Total. Do you know, because my eyes were darting all over the place.
Yeah, they were just like, wow. And that eyebrow went up.
That's right.
That's his tell.
My nipples got really soft. Weird. So anyway, okay. What
So tonight,
yeah,
I brought up instrumental songs by classic rock bands.
Which would mean songs with no lyrics. Instruments only.
Yes. There's going to be some back and forth about some of these songs that we talk about. So that it was a good way to introduce
some good
it.
Social intercourse.
Valentine's Day.
Verbal or oral. It is Valentine's Day. I'll be right back. I forgot something. I show back up, kind of out of breath, a little sweaty. I'm good.
So I'm going to start with a couple that really no discussion about because
This is like the old ascertainers where we kind of just insert a topic. It's like, stop. Here's what we're talking about. This is good. Yes, talk to me.
We'll start with, wrong paper. Jessica. Wait, I already talked about all that stuff. Jessica, the Allman Brothers.
Is that the one that goes?
Perfect.
That's the one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Frankenstein, Edgar Winter Group.
I thought we started with Jessica.
Yeah, but I'm talking about ones that you really can't argue about.
Are you going to list it? You don't do lists. Those are good songs. Agree. Next.
And Joe Satriani. Those are instrumental songs that you know are instrumental songs. You can't really
I don't
argue.
know the Joe Satriani one, though, because I always think of, I thought there was one called the Satch Shuffle or something like that.
Always With Me, Always With You is one that everyone's probably heard, and you can hear it on the radio.
Okay. I have a question.
Yeah.
Where are we going with this?
I'm getting to that.
So you just threw out 3 songs. I thought you would bring one up and then we would talk about, yeah, I like it. Yeah, I do too. Okay,
no,
next.
we'll get to that. We'll just
okay. Simmer down.
back off.
I'm sorry, Mark. I'm not used to you taking charge like this.
I am.
This is like, wow.
So the next one probably can talk about Black Mountainside.
Hate it. Sorry. What is it? Who sings that? I never heard of it.
Led Zeppelin.
You said that before, and I don't know if I know that song.
I forgot to play it. I thought I played it, but then I forgot.
I love it when you sing.
No.
Oh, Philly, this is on video. You would have loved that.
I can't even describe it. I don't know the guitar that he plays, but it's kind of a bluesy. You would know it if you heard it.
I think I do. Does it go? Do, 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 do.
We just listened to Black Mountainside, and I think that's a great
30 seconds of it. I didn't recognize it, so I'm not a big Zepp guy, though. I mean, I like Led Zeppelin, but I don't know their whole catalog. Sorry if that's exposed me.
That's really
as a fraud. I know a lot about a lot of other music. I figure Led Zeppelin's like the Apple iPhone, and that's why I have an Android, because everybody else knows about Zepp. Why should I bother? What do you think of that? That's a pretty good goddamn theory to live by.
I think I'm a better person because I know the song, but we'll go on.
And you can fly a plane. I can't. Damn it. Damn it.
My next one
is
a little controversial because it's Pink Floyd, The Great Gig in the Sky, but they use a vocalist as an instrument.
Oh, the female backup singer.
Yeah.
That's, you got it. Does she sing any words that you can discern?
No, but a lot of people say
that I would say that's an instrumental.
Okay. It's a great song. I think it's phenomenal.
What is the Pink Floyd song where they do I don't know how you'd even describe it. It's because I don't know if it has words to it. It's like there's a keyboard that goes. It sounds like kind of like a bubblegum machine for quite a while, and then it goes into something else. It might be just the transition of the song that does it, but it's really cool. It's like an oscillating keyboard note. Boy, I hope I know what oscillating means. I think it means 8-sided. Octagonal.
Oh, I think it's like a Silly's triangle.
Or an ocelot, which is like a cat. An isosceles triangle. Nice. Never seen before in the wild.
We were listening to Van Halen Eruption. To me, that is not an instrumental. That is a intro song, or intro to You Really Got Me.
Get out of my basement. My dojo. Our dojo.
Because if you
don't
listen
think
to
Eruption
that,
is an instrumental?
they always link it to You Really Got Me.
But it's got its own name. It's just that it runs into a other song. If it was called You Really Got Me, but it had this like precursor that wasn't named Eruption with its own, like there's like if you look at the record, there's a space between it. Mark's raising his hand.
Who is that from Welcome Back, Carter?
Arnold Horshack is who you're thinking.
Anyways, then I brought up Lou Reed.
Hold on, I want to stop you because I want to talk about because you're getting into the list thing that you say you don't.
No,
like.
but this goes back to Eruption and your argument.
I had a thing. You want to hear my one thing?
Go ahead.
So, the guy from Planet of the Apes at the end. That one guy.
Damn you all the hell.
Yep, that's me. But you all is Jim in this case. Just me. So, we were listening to between episodes, because we were talking, I started off by listening to Spanish Fly by Edward Van Halen from Van Halen 2, which is kind of an acoustic.
And then he put something in my drink.
I did, yeah. And then Mark woke up. It's like Thursday right now. We started on Friday.
Spanish Fly works.
Technically 2 Fridays ago. Mark really doesn't have his tolerance up. Like
my wife didn't even miss me.
We took a week off. I didn't know. I just give you the regular amount. Anyway, I put on my phone. Mark was doing his
pee break.
He had a bio break, whatever that is. And I put on Spanish Fly from Van Halen 2. And then after I played that, it went right into something from Diver Down. They do a lot of the 2-minute-ish little Eddie Van Halen thing. And the Diver Down one was very, what do you call it? Where he had a lot of effects on it. It was more of a, kind of made it sound like a choral piece, if you will. Even though it was guitar. And it was fantastic work, but it didn't really trip my trigger. But then the one that started it all, Eruption, came on, and it's just that good. It's like, I don't want to hear it. I've heard that a million times. So then when you sit, we've got a little Bose Bluetooth speaker down here that puts out okay sound. It's not super loud, but I was just listening to it. I'm like, this is so fucking. This guy is 22 years old, maybe 21 when you recorded it. And I don't think we were ready for it. Like, this is probably how people, when they heard Hendrix in the 60s, were like, what the fuck is happening here? But I'll say this, because I said, that's the first we heard of Van Halen was Eruption. And then I realized, no, Running with the Devil was side 1, song 1. And then it was Eruption, and then, the fuck's that called?
You Really Got Me.
Yeah, that's it. And I sure hope I'm right, because I'll really eat crow.
It is.
We're supposed to be a music podcast, but so my question is, how the F? Because you said maybe they didn't think that was going to be that big of a song. How do bands know what will be a hit, or do they know what's going to be a hit?
They don't know, because there's always a battle. Back in the day when you had A side, B side of a little 45, before they released the full album, they had a 45 with an A and B side.
Oh, they would release singles before the album?
Yes, and they would pick which songs would be on each side. The bands would say, well, we should have this one as our first release on the A side. And the producer would go, that really sucks. No. So there was always a battle, and there was always a battle on the B side.
We're going to have a little debate on this.
Go ahead.
Keep going. I think bands that put out 45s, a lot of them didn't have enough music for an album, but they had a hit. So, like, I think the Beatles are an exception. And maybe the Beatles had this methodology. But I think about Terry Jack's Seasons in the Sun. Great song. Everyone's heard it. Sad song. An iconic song. The B side to that is called Put the Bone In. And it's a song about a guy's dog got hit by a car, and he's at the butcher shop, and he's saying, hey, put the bone in. I hope I'm not missing the true intent of the song, because it could take a few different directions with that title. It's put the bone in. He said whatever, because my dog's been hit by a car. So he wants to give his dog a fucking bone to chew on as he's dying. So my point is this. There's no way that they were thinking, well, maybe put the bone in as the hit here. I think it was because you don't have 8 songs or 10 songs to put out, but we're going to make money on these 2.
I know the song, but I don't know the person. I'm pretty sure he put out a full album.
Terry Jacks?
Yeah.
We can look it up.
But back in the day, you had 45s that people could go and buy on the cheap without buying the album.
Is that what the rationale was?
Yes.
Okay. I can get behind that.
I don't know where we were going with that.
I was going with, well, I'll say this, is that I think that when I had my short stint as a college radio DJ, that it seemed to me that the second song on side 1 was usually the one that became the hit. Like, you don't want to put the hit first, because then they won't listen to anything else. So second, let's kind of bury it in there. I don't know. This is good.
I don't either. I think the producers and the bands always battled with that.
That I don't disagree with. I know for sure, like if you watch the Queen biopic, it's not a documentary, but you could tell there was like huge tension between like, that shouldn't even be on the record, let alone be the like Bohemian Rhapsody. They thought that should be the radio play song, and they're like, we'll get laughed at.
On the flip side, some producers and bands.
Nice one, by the way. The flip side?
Yeah.
What's up? Tasty.
That the producer helped bring out a lot of the music.
Maybe it's not the producer it was a promoter. I mean, because the producer, literally, that's their job, is to make the band sound good and everything else. It's the arranger or whatever. He'd be the lone arranger. Do you think? Okay. Are you just so frustrated? You're like, yes.
Whatever you want, Jim. But going back to Eruption, to me, that's an intro.
Eruption. I think you said Russian. Okay. Clean my ears out. I think, it's already about Russia? All those people were right.
But then I brought up Lou Reed, Sweet Jane intro.
Well, whatever that was, it was some of the best music I've ever heard.
But they could have named that a song like Eruption.
Well, just because they didn't doesn't mean Eruption's not its own song. Eruption is its own song.
Because you're not going to play Eruption on the radio without You Really Got Me.
Okay. The fact that you just call them 2 separate things tells me that they're 2 separate
because
things.
The band or the producer or the radio.
Yeah, but very often they would play You Really Got Me without Eruption. Almost every time you heard it on the radio, it did not include Eruption. You don't want to sit this one out, man, because I will beat you down on this one. Very rarely do I take like a really strong stance. I will say this, though. I will compliment you. That Lou Reed song. So what you're saying is that's Sweet Jane, but what version? That's not just the album version, is it? Because I've heard Sweet Jane a zillion times by a zillion artists, but I've never heard that intro. And that intro was heavenly. It was so good.
That was the intro that Lou Reed
was recorded as a New York Dolls tune? Or
no, Velvet Underground.
What'd I say? My bad. So Sweet Jane had already been released, and then he re-released it with this sweet intro.
He stole a lot of the Velvet Underground when he went solo.
For sure, I'm going to put that version in the show notes, and get yourself a nice little speaker or in the car or something, because that was...
If you want to hear...
Silly simple, but silly good.
A great album, Lou Reed, Rock and Roll Animal. Front to back, it's just excellent.
Good time.
Then we go with Sirius, with Alan Parsons Project.
Is that the one that you hear in every sporting event? No.
It's an introduction to Eye in the Sky. They named it separate.
Dude, if it has its own name, it's its own song. It just happens to come before that song on the record.
But anybody can name an intro and say, well, that's an instrumental, when it's really not.
I think you commented on my smart quarter zip, but it's this fabric where this time of winter, my hands are so dry, it just... drags across the fabric. That's not good. Maybe you don't know because you're not a working man like me. By the way, I work in an office, totally climate control. So those that work hard with their hands, my apologies.
Is Working Man it's not a song?
Rush has on half of their albums, they have an instrumental, and they are the best Rush instrumental, in my opinion, is La Ville Estragiato, which I think everybody would say. But after that, I think there's one called Leave That Thing Alone, which I really enjoy. Yes, Mark? And none of them are mistaken for other songs. They are their own 3-minute little journey. I think because they're short and they precede a song that everybody knows, you think that those aren't songs, but they're songs. Think about a short kid. Do you think like a little short kid is not a real kid? He's only attached to his brother? Wow, that's pretty deep shit there, boy.
Really bizarre.
Are you using your height privilege, you motherfucker?
Holy cow.
Mark hates little people. He doesn't even think they should have their own name. That's what's happening here.
Holy cow.
These are the Ascertainers. These were the Ascertainers before we get canceled.
How the hell can you argue with that?
Boy, oh boy, Mark took that. We're moving away from DEI way too seriously.
So it was funny bringing up Rush.
Hey.
I mentioned
funny about Rush. You're blaspheming.
I go, you can't bring up XYZ as an instrumental in the podcast. And Jim goes, do you know where that comes from?
Should we just start the correction train? It's YYZ.
Yes.
Yes, you were mocking me.
You know, that is the code for Toronto Airport. He was making fun of me for not knowing that. And I was going, I went into hundreds of airports and I don't memorize all of them.
You don't know the MSP, ATL, LAG?
One's in the U.S.
The Joe Louis Airport is in Detroit. Sorry.
There's 2 codes. Everything in Canada is C.
Oh.
Everything in the U.S. is K.
I did not know that.
The IATA is for passengers, and that's what the codes you see on the website and stuff.
I'm just a simple passenger.
On the ICAO, you'll see codes for like Europe, U.S., Canada, Mexico.
So Bachman Turner Overdrive was Canadian, and I just hope their airport was BTO. That would have been the...
No, it would be CBTO.
Son of a bitch. Can we be done?
we hate each other so much right now.
Then yes. We'll see you next week.
You can get a hold of us at TheAscertainers@gmail.com.
Mark's gonna be spending the week training Tai Chi so he can kick my ass in slow motion. Sweep the leg, Mark. It's gonna be a minute. How did he get me with the leg? Oh, it's because I forgot about it. That's how. So anyway, Lucas and Dave?
Yes.
Was that this episode?
It was.
Hey, you want to be a guest? Just let Mark know. And you can come to my basement. It's way creepier than it sounds. But come on down. We'll talk classic rock and Mark's anatomy.
Wow.
Sounds like a real thrill. Thanks for listening.
Get a hold of us on the Facebook and any platform you listen to us on.
I think it's that Facebook. I think you get
it could be. Good night.
Peace.
I mean goodbye.